Hello, everyone. Let me add Sarah. We're just getting set up here. There we go. Good. I was saying Good Friday. I was like, good day to you.
Good day to you too.
You had a busy Friday today.
I did, but you know what? I kind of like it. Like there is no stopping. It's good.
You feel like you're running a marathon, or do you feel like you're just kind of like on a nice walk?
I'm at a nice walk at a brisk pace. Yeah.
You're like, I got these kids. I got hardwired. We're not tonight class. Sarah's doing it all today, and I'm so glad to welcome you today. Kimberly said there's a bit of an echo. Let me know if anyone else hears that. I don't personally hear it, but maybe that's because it's on my end. So hopefully that's not big. Do you hear an echo, Sarah?
I don't. I do not.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. We've got a lovely class to kind of round out this very bead-filled and exciting week. We started the week announcing that Sarah's now an official designer for Sam's Bead Shop. And I think we answered a lot of questions about what that meant on Tuesday, and it'll continue to evolve. I think the main question that folks were asking was like, is Sarah still doing all the awesome stuff she does? And the answer is yes.
Didn't you know I'm Superwoman?
Sarah is just also now going to be doing events throughout the month at Sam's Bead Shop. So there's going to be a lot to. It basically means Sarah and I get to work together more consistently and do more projects, more kits, like all sorts of really awesome things. So it's just going to be fun. And it just means more hours with Sarah. So I am not complaining.
Me neither.
Someone commented on the last stream that I need to get my own giant S behind me.
You do. You do. Mine lights up. It just is not bright enough for you to actually see it on the camera, but it does light up.
That's fancy.
I know.
See, I could have instead of this dead plant, I could have a giant S right here.
You totally could. Yep.
My sister said, "Who's in the weekend mood?" I feel like this is how I always know that the weekend's starting, as we do the end of week class. We start making something, and then it is weekend time.
Yes.
So I am ready. I don't even know what I'm doing this weekend yet. I know Rachel's finally coming home. She's been away for weeks, so she's coming home tomorrow. It's been a very quiet house here. It's been a lot of Jeopardy. I don't know what your go-to easy shows are these days, but that's mine these days.
What am I watching these days? I'm still watching Naruto constantly. I'm rewatching Pretty Little Liars.
Okay.
Second time. And that's just I just turn it on and it's just background noise, Yeah. But I am paying attention because can't help it. It's like a train wreck. You just can't look away.
Right. Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
So today's class.
No, Grey's Anatomy?
Oh, always Grey's Anatomy. I've been watching from the beginning, so I'm on season 6 or 7. Yeah. But then the new season just started. So we're on season 19, which people always laugh oh my God, it's still on the air. Yes, it's still on the air because it's a fantastic show. And I am so happy. So I get to watch the new episodes and the old episodes simultaneously, and I'm in heaven.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just to see the life arcs of these folks. They're like family. Truly.
I know how that feels, except mine are all animated.
Oh,
real people.
They feel real. I get it.
They do feel real. Yeah, it's pretty. They're even on my phone case. It's serious. My mom's like, "Are you watching cartoons again?" I'm like, "They're not cartoons, Mom. They're not cartoons."
Family. Oh my gosh. So this class is a kit class, and I think this is the first kit we've done since like the first batch of kits a couple months ago, right? I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So we did like a really gem-filled kit today. I'll post that photo again with Sarah's lovely shining face. So this is the project we're going to be working on today. There is a kit available for it. I just checked, and there are some kits currently left. I think there's 10 left. And it's kind of cool because you get, where did I go? I started clicking things. It has genuine turquoise. It has tiger eye, like a lot of tiger eye.
Yeah.
And it has that really cool picture Jasper focal, and of course Czech glass. And it's all designed around the TierraCast Flora Rings.
Yes, which are gorgeous.
Which like Sarah had picked out initially, and we ended up doing them in 3 sizes. They come in 3 sizes. And Sarah, I think you used all 3 sizes in this kit.
Yeah.
Along with the matching toggles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a really nice cohesive set. You also get all the head pin. Wait, what's in this kit? You get like all the findings you need for it as well in there, which I'm like, here, I have the kit. What's in the kit? So head pins, jump rings, you get TierraCast spacers, which is a first for the shop that were just brought in, and you'll see more colors of. And you get some niobium ear wires as well. So those are awesome because they're like hypo-allergenic.
Yeah.
They're like really nice to wear. So it's just like a really nice quality, pretty inclusive kit. You basically just have to bring your own stringing wire, crimps, 22 gauge German style wire, and you're basically set. So you kind of just use your go-to basics on that front, and we got you covered on everything else.
Yep.
Does that cover the basics of the kit? Oh, and you get suede. You get a yard of suede in your kit, or is it a yard or a meter? It's a yard. They're not quite the same. It's a yard. And you get to make 3 pieces of jewelry from this kit: a necklace, bracelet, and earrings. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And even if you don't have, if you're not getting the kit, I think there's a lot of technique you can learn today, and kind of also just design loveliness from Sarah. So I'm ready to jump in whenever you are, Sarah.
Yes. All right, let's get to it. So normally Sam and I kind of talk about, hold on, how do I turn myself around? I always more. No, where's
in the same way today?
Where's my turnaround? Here we go. No.
I think the settings.
It's different today. What's happened to it?
It's because you're on like the Sam Speed Shop stream.
Yeah.
So you should see maybe more. Camera settings.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's just a couple of extra clicks. Sorry about that. It is a little different.
Good.
I'm on your.
We're all with you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so normally when Sam and I do this, we kind of talk ahead of time as to like what out of the 3 pieces we're going to start with. And I think it's probably best if we start with the necklace.
That sounds great.
Just because that's the big part and really has the most technique involved in it. And then everything else, you're really going to just kind of repeating some of what we've already done. So I like to lay things out in advance. So I am going to just kind of lay out this design for you. Now, some of this, I did save a little bit of time, like one side is already done, but we are going to do all of this together, just minus this little section right here. Okay. So I don't want anybody to be mad that we're not doing every single step together, but it really is a lot. We've got 3 pieces to make.
I think that's helpful.
Yeah. So you can see here, we're starting in the center with our focal. We've got the TierraCast rings here. We've got our largest ring here in the center. We've got a mediums and then the small. And the large ring here in the center, we're going to take one of our picture Jasper pieces. These are so pretty. And just pick whichever side you think is the prettiest, which sometimes can be really difficult to do. Because they're like this piece, both sides are awesome.
I love that everyone's going to get like a different one too. We picked out we tried to give everyone like a really cool one, but it's like each one's its own little Picasso painting.
Yeah. which makes they're awesome. They really are awesome. And it definitely gives everybody's like, it's the same design, but it's all different, you know? So we're going to just repeat what I've already done here on this side. So we're going to be using some of the 8mm. Is that correct? The 8mm. We have 8s and 10s. Is that right? Or is this okay? So we're going to be using some of the 8mm tiger eye. We're going to do our wire wrapping to wire wrap these on. And then each one of our rings also gets 2 head pins with 2 pieces of the turquoise on them as well. So we're doing a little bit of wire wrapping here. We're also going to add 2 little dangles of the turquoise to our centerpiece as well with our picture Jasper, but I'm going to wait and do that right at the end. So we're going to start here. We're going to fix the center up the way we want it, and then we're going to work on the length, which is just some stringing and a little bit of wire wrapping with some of the suede. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your pieces of 22 gauge German style wire. That's my go-to for all of this. You're really just going to need about 4 inches for making each one of our little wrapped loop bead things here. And actually 4 inches might be a little bit of too much, but it's always, for me, better to have more than what you think you're going to need. So we're going to start out with our piece. We're going to start out making a wrapped loop on just one of those pieces. So we're going to take our chain nose pliers. We're going to come down on that wire about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And our loops for this need to be kind of large. So we do have to make the loop that is big enough to accommodate the width of each one of our rings. And so you need more than just your standard loop size, which mine normally are right around 2 millimeters. This is going to be a bit bigger than that. You want to make like a 4 millimeter loop if you can. Okay. So I'm going to grab the wire with my chain nose pliers and I'm just going to give it a bend, creating ourselves a backward 7 here. And then we're going to come in with our round nose pliers to do our loop. I'm going to bring that wire back towards the back of the pliers so that I can get that nice big loop like we just talked about. I'm going to take the wire up and over the top barrel of the pliers, and then I need to rotate the pliers so that I can close up my loop. In order to do that, I need to take this bottom barrel of the pliers and move it to the top. So all I do is just adjust that in my hands. And then I can take the wire over to the other side to close up that loop. Now, before I do the wraps though, I do need to attach this. So I'm going to take it. This is our center here. If you're just getting started, you don't have all of this. So we're just going to pretend that we're working on just one side here. Pretend like this side doesn't exist. We're going to take the tail end of our wire. We're going to stick it through the center of our large ring. And then you just want to very gently slide your loop onto your component, just like that. Okay. And then you may have to give it a little squeeze to close it back up. I like to use my bent chain nose pliers to hold on to those loops. Just keeps the tip of the pliers out of the way. And then we are going to wire wrap. I'm going to wire wrap about 3 or 4 times.
I'm so glad you got me to start using my bent nose pliers.
Well, if nothing else, they don't feel like they're getting left out.
Well, they're at that's what
I just mangled that loop, you guys. I apologize. That's not the prettiest loop I've ever made in my life, but I will do better. They do make things easier though, don't they?
There's really, because when you need them to not be in the way, it's really helpful.
Yep. All right, so now I'm going to take one of my tiger eye beads. I'm going to thread that on. And I'm going to do another wrapped loop, just the same. And before I do my wraps, I'm going to thread on the next ring. So we're just going to follow the same steps. Grabbing the wire, bending the wire over the top of the pliers, bringing in the round nose pliers. And again, you want to take it back here to the back so that your loop is nice and big. We're going up and over, rotate, take the wire over to the other side. And you can see I've got lots of extra wire. Of course, I cut huge pieces of wire, so you may not have nearly as much. And we're going to slide just like that. And then hold on to it with those bent chain nose pliers. And then you're going to wire wrap. And if you've done 3 or 4, do 3 or 4 on this side as well, just to try to keep everything pretty balanced. Whoops. And then you're going to come in with your cutter tool and trim off the excess. Get in as close as you can with that cutter. And then if you still need to come in and get it a little bit closer, you can always tuck your end in with your pliers. Okay, so now we're just going to repeat that with one more of the tiger eye beads to add our smallest ring to this. So I'm going to start again with another piece of wire. Chain nose pliers, give the wire a bend. Coming in with our round nose pliers, we're going up and over. I've got a grumbly dog at my feet. If you hear that, that is definitely the dog.
Albert.
All right, I'm going to slide that on. And if you have trouble sliding these on, if you have trouble kind of wiggling those together, you can always pre-open, you know, with your pliers, you can pre-open that loop just a little bit. That one went together pretty smoothly. Grab that. And then I'm going to wire wrap.
Some folks commenting on the turquoise in the kit and how fun it is that we actually have a kit that features some nice turquoise. This is from one of my favorite turquoise vendors. When they started out, excuse me, their only import was turquoise, and like
wow.
all over the world, and then definitely a lot of Chinese turquoise because there's some amazing turquoise mines in China. One of the most famous ones being the mine in Hubei province, which you get like these really nice brown mix into the turquoise, which I see some of in this turquoise.
Yeah.
So this looks most like some kind of Chinese turquoise to me, which because it has such a nice color variation in it, and it has some of that brown.
Yeah.
So it could be Hubei turquoise, possibly. It's definitely like an older stock batch. Because a lot of the stuff they imported like a massive amount decades ago, and still have it. So it ends up being like this really, really lovely turquoise.
It really is.
Go
beautiful.
digging for.
And I'm kind of picky about my turquoise, and I don't know that everybody is, but I'm a little picky about my colors of turquoise, and this one is exactly the color that I love. This is the same color that I see in a lot of like that African turquoise, where it does have a little bit more green to it, and like you said, the brown. Those are my favorite things in the turquoise. I'm more partial to the greens and the browns than I am the blue, which is funny because I love blue, but it's gorgeous. All right, so that's what we've got so far, right? We've linked our tiger eye beads to each one of our little decorative rings here, which are gorgeous, by the way. And now for each one of these, like I have on the other side here, I've put some of our chips onto head pins and have attached those to our rings. So we're going to do that next. So we're going to skip over the middle ring because that's where our picture Jasper is going to go. And then we're going to do these two. So you're going to need your head pins, and you're going to just want to take 2 pieces of your turquoise, and we're going to do another wrapped loop. Let's see. I'm going to flip these around here. But sometimes with the chips, you want to try to pick like a flatter surface to do a wrapped loop up against if you can.
That's smart.
So there's one that's a little bit flatter. It just keeps you from like hurting the chip, because I don't want to scratch it up or risk cracking it or any of that. And I also want those big loops again, because again, we're still kind of having to go over those wide rings. So we still need a good size loop. So there's that. And then to make things easier, like I mentioned before, you can always come in with your pliers and open that loop up a little bit. That makes it a little bit easier. If you are struggling with it, just slide that on and then pinch that closed with your bent chain nose pliers. And you're going to do your wire wraps. Now, when I'm wire wrapping with chips, it's the same thing as if I'm wire wrapping with crystals. I always try to be very, very gentle with my tools and especially with my cutter tool. And I don't want to push it with the wraps. If it doesn't look like I've got enough room to do 3 wraps, then only do as many as you can get, you know? Don't want to push it, and you don't want to accidentally crack anything with your tools. If I could hold on to it, that would be helpful too. I just like to take extra care with my gemstones, with chips in particular.
And with turquoise, because it's a softer stone.
Exactly. Yeah. You just want to be careful.
The
It's
most common
durable.
thing. Oh, absolutely. I mean, because typically it goes through some sort of stabilization process, either to be compressed or whatnot. Like pretty much 90% of turquoise is stabilized at least somewhat,
Right.
because most of it comes out of the ground pretty like chalky soft. And so the main thing I look for is I don't tend to like the composite stuff where they basically powderize it down and then reconstitute it,
Yeah.
called reconstituted turquoise. I prefer the more typical kind, which is a stabilized one, where it's usually either a pressure or sometimes they'll inject some sort of like resin to add a little bit more structure into it. It's kind of amazing technology.
Right. Yeah.
They get to preserve the natural structures of the stone, like all the beautiful matrixing it has, but then it adds hardness that makes it usable in jewelry making.
Yeah. And none of those things are bad to do. I feel like there's some bad rap attached to those things, like the adding of the resin, and there's really not. It makes it so that, just like what you said, we can use it in our jewelry making. It makes it so that it's sturdy enough to stand up to things like being bashed up against your pliers or everyday wear. It's not necessarily detrimental to the stone. You're not taking anything away from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually what allows a lot of the rough material to be usable, so that's
Right.
not wasted. And I think as long as like we try to be very transparent about these sorts of like this treatments of stones in the shop. Like any information I have, I always pass on,
Right.
because that's what matters at the end of the day. Like all of our clothes are dyed. Like it's not that different that if a stone is dyed, you just want to know if it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, I do tend to prefer many natural stones, so I tend to gravitate towards those in my personal designs. Doesn't
Right.
mean I won't use a. It's more of a personal preference thing.
I think so too.
Someone commented they love that turquoise goes with any outfit.
It does. And it's one of those stones that, quite honestly, if you're kind of shopping around and picky about your color, there is a color of turquoise that works with every skin tone. You know, and and maybe that's why I'm drawn to the ones that I'm drawn to. The browns and the green tones seem to work better with my skin tone than the more blue, like
Mhm.
kind of classic turquoise color, which is still beautiful, but might not necessarily look as good with my skin tone. So I think turquoise is one of those things where everybody can find one that works.
Absolutely. It's amazing how consistently I feel like it's been in style.
Oh yeah, it's
Like,
never gonna go out, I don't think.
yeah, because there's certain stones that, like, I think they like based on the colors mainly of them, they kind of ebb and flow. Turquoise, I feel like, has been very consistent for a long time,
Yeah.
and in many different styles of jewelry. It's obviously huge in Native American
Right.
jewelry. It's huge in Southwest, like, which also drew a lot of inspiration from Native American techniques. And then it's translated into everything by now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, obviously the most famous turquoise in like this in the US comes out of Arizona. It's like tends to be the really nice blue turquoise tones.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember what other states have where they found turquoise. I think it's mostly in the Southwest. But I've always loved turquoise. I have these some chunks of turquoise that I just think are so cool.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with it. I'm fascinated with just the differences in it. I've been talking about, just the different color variations that there are and textures to it. All right, so this is what we've got going on here. So I've got the little turquoise drops on each one of the rings. So we've skipped over our center piece here. I've still got 4 pieces of the turquoise to go in our center ring, but I want to add this piece of Jasper first. So we're going to treat this like a bracelet because the way that it's drilled across the top. And you're going to need another piece of your 22 gauge wire to do that. Now I've cut a really long piece. I definitely don't need all of this, but I'm going to use the scraps elsewhere. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to thread it on, and I don't thread to the middle. I try to kind of be off center from the middle of my piece so that I have 2 different lengths of wire. I'm going to take one of those and I'm going to bend it upwards. Now, because our stone is curved and not coming to a point, I want to follow the curve of the stone, but only up to a point, right? Because I still need that triangle of space. I can't naturally get that triangle just by holding this wire and curving it all the way around the top edge of the stone. But basically what you want is just that triangle shape where your wires are going to crisscross over the top. Some of you are going to have deeper triangles than others. It really doesn't make much of a difference. But there's no way that that's going to sit right on the top just because of the way the stone is shaped. Now, what you want to do is you want to take your pliers and your short wire, you want to bend it so that it is coming straight out. And you want to take your longer wire and bend it so that it is going up and down. So you're basically creating a little L shape here. Now, this is another place where it's a really good idea to use your bent chain nose pliers just to keep them out of the way. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab that triangle shape with my bent chain nose pliers. You can see how the bend in the pliers stays out of the way of everything else that I'm doing. And I'm going to wrap the short wire around the long wire about 3 times, and then I'm going to cut it off. So I'm going slow, being gentle. Okay, so I got about 3 wire wraps there. And I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and I'm going to trim off the excess. All right, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do another wire, or not another, but I'm going to do a wire wrap loop here. And I'm going to treat those wire wraps like they were a bead. So in other words, I'm going to place my pliers right up against those wraps, just like if there were a bead sitting there and we were going to begin a new wire wrap. Okay, so I'm going to bend the pliers over the top, or the wire over the top of the pliers, giving me room for more wraps. And I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. And you'll notice this loop is going to be facing away from us. Take the wire up and over. It also needs to be another large loop. Rotate the pliers, take the wire over to the other side. Right, so we've got a nice large loop here. Open it up just slightly, and then I'm going to thread through the center, slide that onto our component. And I'm going to come in with my bent chain nose pliers to hold that loop closed, and then we're going to wire wrap. And the wire wraps are going to meet up with the previous wire wraps. I'm going to get as close as I can. And you may have to use your pliers. Get in there and tidy it all up. You want it to try to look seamless. That's not always possible, but you want to get seamless look as you possibly can. Come in with your pliers and cut off, or I'm sorry, with your cutter tool and cut off. And then you've wrapped your piece to your component just like that. And that's why it's important that that loop be facing away from you, because the ring here in the center is facing towards you. So in order to make your pendant face you, this one's got to face away from you. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that wrapped loop. tidy it up just a little bit. Okay. Now I do want to use up the last little pieces of the turquoise that I've set out for this. And we're going to do 2 on each side. Those are going to go onto head pins as well, just like we did with the others here. So we'll do those quickly. Just going to thread 2 onto a head pin. And at any point, you can leave out the dangles. This is your design. You've got all the parts to do it exactly the way that I'm doing it, but you can change this up and make it yours. You don't want to add all these extra little dangles of the turquoise, then you don't have to. You can put them somewhere else in your design if you want. Slide that on.
So I'm curious why you were drawn to the Flora rings to start.
They're one of my very favorite collections from TierraCast. The Dolce Vita collection is what they come from. And I don't know, there's something about the texture. And they're 2-sided, which I think is really cool. So on one side of them, you can even see like there's tiny little, there's like hearts, I don't know, and little baby flowers. But then on the other side, it's just cool texture. So it's 2-sided. It has 2 personalities. And either personality, they work together, but to me, it's just something about the texture. I'm really, really a fan of the texture, but also that color of the metal, because it's like antique silver. It's not bright, you know, like bright sterling. It's that antique-y, so it has the you really see all the raised texture in it and the darker sections in it. I don't know. To me, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Every single piece in the collection is just gorgeous.
You have the toggle nearby because it matches really well.
Yes, I do. Look how pretty.
Wow, that toggle's fantastic.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
You get 2 toggles in this kit, one for the necklace and one for the bracelet. So we're not messing around in this kit, y'all.
Yeah. All right, so last one. This one's going to go on the other side of our Jasper piece here. And again, just be gentle with your tools and gentle when you go to cut. And if you need to tuck in, you can, but just be careful. All right, so our focal is ready. But that's not the only fabulous part of this. The entire necklace is pretty fabulous, in my opinion. And I'm not just biased because I'm biased because the beads are amazing. So this is going to be an asymmetrical design where one side of this is going to be, I realize you can't see all of it at the moment, but one side of it is going to be this gorgeous suede. And the other side is more tiger eye. So
this is the part where you surprised me the most, Sarah, because I had an image in my head of probably like where you were gonna go, and then Sarah was like, nope, we're doing asymmetrical.
Well, I tried several things, and this one was just my favorite. So I'm just glad that you ended up liking it, because there's always a chance, and this happens every time. Like every time we work together, there's always a chance that like you're gonna hate it. You know what I mean? Why, and I'm like, okay, is this gonna be the time that Sam hates it? Is this gonna be the one?
I will wait for that moment, and I don't know. I don't think the day will come. But if it happens, I also have my own taste. Like I might not. That's fine. Like we're not the same person.
I know. So we're gonna. I'm using bead stringing wire here. Now, for me personally, I like a good 49 strand, but from Beadalon, but you use whatever bead string and wire you want to use. Okay. And that's all up to you. But I am using silver because you do see a little bit of this, not a lot, but you will see it running through the wire guardian. So I'm going to use a wire guardian as well. If you're not using a wire guardian, that's okay too. Okay. You just want to skip this step and make your loop over your component. But if you're going to use a wire guardian, thread on that wire guardian to one end, or to your wire here at the end. Thread the end back down through the wire guardian, but don't go through the crimp just yet, because we want to attach this to our component. So I'm going to take the tail end of that wire and thread it through our smallest ring here. So the wire guardian is actually sitting up against the component, and then thread on your crimp, or thread your wire back down through your crimp rather.
And with the asymmetry, you will not offend us if you choose to like change up how you put the kit together.
Exactly.
You can do a section of tiger eye on each side and then do the suede on each side. You don't
Yep.
have to do one side suede, one side tiger like Sarah's doing.
Right. Yeah. And you've got so much to work with here. You have plenty to do exactly that. So don't feel like you gotta keep it this way. So I just crimped all of that. I'm going to trim off the excess. And now we're just going to do some straight stringing. And I've got, let's see, how many here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Is that right, Sam?
I can count. Hold on. Here, I'll pull up our image. We'll all count together. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 on your left side there.
All right. I just want to make sure, because I know we made a change in the bracelet. I just want to be sure we do it exactly the way we talked about. So I'm just going to thread these straight on. Now, this is where you can get a little creative if you wanted to, like with your own stash. If you want to throw in some extra beads here, like some little spacers or daisy spacers or whatever you want to, you absolutely can. But I got to tell you something. These tiger eye are stand-alone gorgeous. They don't really need anything else. They really don't.
I
So
picked them up for this kit because I thought they would really match the quality of the turquoise, because they have such a nice chatoyance to them. Often turquoise doesn't look quite that nice, and I just thought those were quite stand out.
Agreed. And I love the color combination. All of those caramel tones in the tiger eye with the turquoise. Oh, so pretty. So pretty.
It would be amazing if one day, like, multiple folks who made this necklace show up and see each other wearing the same necklace.
That would be awesome.
We didn't make that many of these kits, so like you guys are like a small special group.
That's pretty awesome. You're part of an exclusive club. All right, so we're gonna crimp again here, the end. So I'm gonna thread on my crimp. I'm gonna thread on my wire guardian. Take the wire back down through the wire guardian, and then down through the crimp, and then I'm going to pull all this down right next to my beads. Now, just like with any other crimping project, you want to be sure that your bead string and wire is not crossing inside that crimp, that's running parallel inside there. You're going to bring in your crimper tool, put that in the back notch and give it a squeeze. That's going to further separate out the wires inside the crimp. Turn it sideways, put it in the front notch and give it a squeeze, and that's just going to make it a little bit more compact. You're going to come in with your cutter and trim off the excess. And with my excess, I'm actually going to be using this for the bracelet, so I'm sitting mine to the side. That's why I had an extra long piece. And now we're going to go ahead and add one side of our toggle to this. So I'm going to use a jump ring, and we are going to, actually I'm going to use 2 jump rings, and we're going to attach to the toggle ring part. So this here, and oops, I picked up the wrong jump ring. So a jump ring is going to go through the ring, the loop here, that loop right there. You got to open your jump ring pretty wide. Okay, close that back. And then I'm going to use another jump ring as the go-between here. Open. And attach that to our wire guardian and close that back. So one side's already done. Okay.
I meant to ask why you were crimping on the second side there, or like the second end. Lori had a great question about, she has more trouble crimping the second time on a strand.
I think everybody does. I think everybody, you're definitely not alone in that. And part of the reason is because now all of a sudden, instead of having a big open piece of wire, now you're working up against not just your wire guardian, but a bead, right? So your amount of space here is not very big. And if you're feeling particularly clumsy like I'm feeling most of my life, it makes me feel like the tool is way too big to get in there. So especially if you've got your fingers all up in it, and I mean, there's just not a lot of space to work with once you've filled your wire up with beads. So a lot of times to help out, and I didn't do it this time, but you can do this. Take that bead stringing wire and run it through a bead, maybe two. You don't need to run through the whole strand. Some people think you need to do that like for extra security. You don't. If you've crimped properly, you don't need any extra security. Plus the fact that it's really not helping to secure anything if you're really thinking about it. But if you run that bead stringing wire end through two beads, and then you're pulling from down here instead of pulling right here, you've given yourself a little bit more space by having your fingers two beads down than right up here. And it just feels like you've got more room to get your tool in there. So if you struggle with that, definitely try that. Run it through a bead or two. That's going to keep your hands out of the way a little bit more. And you may feel like you've got a little bit more room to work with, and it might be a little bit easier to crimp. Plus, you also got a little bit more leverage when it comes to pulling that bead stringing wire from down here than right up here. It's going to help your crimp sit a lot flatter against your bead as well. Sometimes when you crimp and then you cut, that crimp wants to sit like sideways like this, and it looks kind of funny. So it'll also help set your crimp nice and flat up against your bead. Those are just some tips, and I don't always do it, but sometimes I do. It really just kind of depends on how the crimp is feeling that day. Because sometimes it needs it and sometimes it doesn't. And there's really no rhyme or reason to it, honestly. All right, so now I've got two jump rings, I've got my toggle bar, and we've got this whole other side of the necklace. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky and where you may want to actually stop what you're doing with your necklace and move on to the bracelet and the earrings first before you come back to this. And the reason that I say that is because I don't know how much everybody is going to have left over for their suede, because everybody's going to cut a little bit differently, right? So what your leftover piece is, as opposed to my leftover piece, might be a little bit different because we cut a little bit different. So you may want to go ahead and cut your little extra pieces for your other pieces of jewelry, and then use your leftovers for the length. It's really up to you. Mine's already pre-cut. Yours may not be exactly the same. What you want, though, is you want to have enough suede left over that you can fold in half, and it's going to be the same length as your tiger's eye beads, plus a few inches. So you can see mine at the fold with my tiger's eye, come all the way down here, and then I've got about, let's see, I can actually even measure. I've got about 3.5 inches of this left over. Okay. So the length of your tiger's eye plus about 3.5 inches, because you are going to tie a knot. And again, that's another thing where everybody's knots are a little bit different. There's a lot of things here that are going to be a little bit different for everybody. But I am going to show you the basic steps. So with whatever length you have left, this is what you're going to do. You're going to take your suede and you are going to thread one end through your smallest loop over here on the other side of your necklace, and you want to bring your 2 ends together so that you find the middle. Okay. Now, if you find that your piece of suede is not long enough because you've used some really long pieces for your other parts, you don't have to fold this in half. You can just use a single strand. And to do that, you would, instead of folding it in half at the middle, you could fold it in half right here, right?
Mm.
That's going to give you all this extra length of suede. So you really can adjust the length of this necklace with this piece of suede. It's totally up to you. So you don't have to do this exactly the way that I'm doing it. But folding mine in half at the center, then I'm going to take another little piece of my 22 gauge wire. If you've got some scraps from earlier, or you just want to cut yourself another little piece, doesn't take very much, but we're going to wire wrap this. Now, an alternate to this would be to take both of these strands together and tie an overhanded knot. However, if you tie a knot here, it is going to take away from the overall length of what you've cut. Okay. So I'm just going to bundle some wire around this. I'm just going to lay my wire anywhere. It doesn't really make any difference as far as where on the wire. And I'm just going to kind of wrap around. And you can do a messy wrap. You can do a nice clean wrap. It's really up to you. You just want to wrap around a few times with one side. And then I like to wrap around with the other side too. Right? Until you got a little bundle of wire, messy or not. Uh-oh, I lost a turquoise bead. It's okay. All right. And then I'm going to come to the back of this and I'm going to trim off. And if you want to tuck these ends in, you can. You just use your pliers and tuck them. I'm just going to cut really, really close. And then you can always come in with your pliers and kind of mash those ends down if you're worried. Run your finger over it. So that's that. Easy peasy, right? Now, coming to the other end, we are going to take our 2 ends together. And you can actually do the same thing again if you want to. You don't have to tie a big bulky knot. I'm going to tie a big bulky knot. You don't want to tie a knot. Let me show you what your option is. So you can take your 2 ends, thread them through your jump ring, which is a tight squeeze, but it will fit. Okay, I may have to. You have to use my tools here. So basically, what you would do, we'll just do it with one piece for sake of time, but you would thread both ends through your jump ring and then fold those over.
And then do the same thing again.
Yeah, do the exact same thing with another piece of wire. If you don't want to do that, though, take your 2 ends and you're going to tie an overhanded knot. And then before you pull that knot super, super tight, don't tighten it down just yet. Take one of your jump rings and open it up and thread it around 2 of those pieces of suede somewhere. So I thread through those 2, or you could thread through those 2. It really doesn't make any difference. So you're going to go ahead and close that back. Then you're going to tighten your knot down. You can add a little bit of hypo cement to this, to your knot, to keep it from opening up on you. But I have found that this suede, it really grips to itself. So you may not need it. It's pretty strong stuff. Now I'm going to take another jump ring here and thread through that jump ring just to give myself a little bit of space, and then add my toggle bar. Close that back. And you're done. Now you can trim off these little leftovers of your suede. If you're going to trim those off and cut them close to the knot, definitely use some hypo cement. But I like them, so I leave mine. But
Well, it
that's
matches the theme. It
yeah,
matches like your thematic element you did in the other pieces.
yeah, for sure. So the necklace part is done. Okay, we have this fabulous, fabulous necklace that for whatever reason I can't lay flat at the moment. I'm going to set this to the side. I will put this on the bust at the end so you can see it, but we're going to move on really quickly to our last two pieces, and we're going to work these up pretty quickly. So the bracelet itself is just some stringing. There is a little suede element to this. We've got another one of these fabulous toggles. We have more turquoise. We've got some of these fantastic spacers, which I love.
I love that you used all the spacers in the bracelet.
I love them. They make me so happy.
I was like, she'll sprinkle them throughout. Like, no, she's like, nope, I want to see them on my wrist. They're on the bracelet.
Yep. All right. So our bracelet is going to be set up very similarly to our necklace in that we've got some rings here in the front. So I want these both to be in the center, okay, which they're not fighting each other. They're really, really cool together. You'll see. I'm going to take a piece of suede here at the end. We're going to loop it through here, add some turquoise dangles. It's going to be great. But basically what we're doing is we're going to do some stringing on either side of these. Okay, so you're going to need 2 more pieces of bead stringing wire. And of course your crimps. And we're going to take a crimp tube or bead, thread that onto the end of your bead stringing wire. Grab yourself a wire guardian. Take your bead stringing wire back down through. And then before you go through that crimp, go through your decorative ring here. So that, again, you're just like in the necklace, your bead stringing wire is not sitting up against that. It's your wire guardian that's sitting up against that component. And then you're going to crimp. This piece of fuzz that just will not go away.
It's part of the kit now.
All right, crimp, and then put it in the front notch and give it a squeeze. And then we're going to come in with our cutter tool to trim. All right, so from here, we're going to do our tiger eye side first. So I'm going to thread on this gorgeous Czech glass bead.
Isn't that cool? That's our Mandala coin in the shop.
I love it. Love, love, love.
Because you had the idea of the Flora rings. I was trying to keep like that thematic idea going. So I chose like a big round shape. And then it has kind of the texturing. I don't know. I felt the texturing looked nice with the Flora ring too.
Okay, I said we were going to do the tiger eye side first. We're not. We're doing the tiger eye turquoise side. Either or. We're starting here. When I've thread on a spacer bead. Sorry, I got a little excited. The tiger's eye just makes me really happy.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So our Czech glass, a spacer bead, and then we're going to do 3 pieces of turquoise. So 3 of our little chips. Okay. We're going to do another spacer. And then 1 of these 10mm tiger eye.
Is it correct that all the 10mm is being used on the bracelet?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Albert agrees.
He said, "Yup." Yep. All right, 3 more turquoise.
Keep in mind, folks, that we put the turquoise in the kits based on length. So like we cut sections of turquoise, and so it's not done by the number of pieces. So it's possible you have to adjust slightly, but our goal is you should end up with a few extra pieces at the end of this kit.
Yeah, I think almost everybody will have a few little extras of the turquoise, which then you can add elsewhere if you wanted to.
Add some extra little dangles back of your necklace or something.
Yep. All right, so there's those, and
Gosh, the bracelets where like the theme comes to life. I just like, it was so smart to put those next to each other.
So pretty. All right, so now we're going to crimp and put part of our toggle. So crimp bead goes on. Wire guardians going on. Back down through. Back down through. And pull. And just like I said a few minutes ago with that question, we'll do it with this one. So let's go down through a bead or two. So just going through the spacer and one of these turquoise chips. Maybe. Get my bead string wire through there and then get a hold of it is the... Come on now. I saw it just a second ago. Hold on.
This makes all of us feel so much better.
All right, there we go.
That was smart. Just loosen it up for a bit first.
Yeah, and I needed a clean end on that bead string wire too. It was a little jaggedy. So now you can see. So now I'm pulling from down here instead of right up here where everything's all crowded. Now I'm pulling that bead string wire from down a bead or two, which opens up all that space for me to just get the tool right in there. And I don't have to fight against my fingers or anything. And I can just slide the crimper tool right in there. And then when I go to cut, I'm cutting down here instead of right up there. And it makes that crimp sit perfectly right up against those beads. So if you struggle, that might really, really help. Just go through a bead or two and see if it makes a difference. So on this side, again, we've got to add part of our hardware here. So we're going to open up a jump ring, going to thread on the toggle, add that to our wire guardian, and I'm going to close that back. All right, so one side's done. We're going to do the other side. Okay, so my scrap piece from earlier. And we're going to crimp again on the other side of this. So crimp tube goes on, wire guardian. Wire goes back down through the wire guardian. And then, oops, crimp and the wire guardian up against our component. And then we're going to crimp. I'm going to trim off the excess, and then we're going to string on the rest of our tiger eye beads here. So we are going to just make sure about my spacers here. So spacer, bead, and then a tiger eye. Just want to lay this out because I feel like, be sure that I've got enough of the spacers and I didn't lose one. Things get a little crazy. Okay, so I actually have one extra of the spacer beads. Okay, so spacer beads going on, tiger eye, spacer.
Sarah, when does I might have missed this in the last section? Was it that we used some of the 8mm on the other side of the bracelet?
So this is, there's two on this side, and then the rest of them are over here on this side. So however many 10 millimeters, let's see how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's 8 total.
Yeah, there's 8 of them.
Yeah, so 2 on one side of the bracelet and then 6 on the other side.
Gotcha. I was trying to remember where you'd put the last couple 8mm tigers.
Right in between those gorgeous turquoise.
Gotcha.
All right, so now let's set that over here to the side, and we're going to crimp again. So crimp, wire guardian, back down through, and then down through our crimp, pull. And if you want to take that down through a bead or two, you can. Bring in your crimper, crimp, turn it sideways, and crimp. And then you're just going to trim off the end. Right. We're going to add our toggle ring to this. Now, what makes this super fun is this little added decorative element that we're going to do to our ring here. So I'm going to do this first. Okay, so that's all ready to go. It looks super cool just like it is, but we like to be extra. So we've got a little piece of our suede here. This is about a 3-inch piece of the suede. And we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to do just a little lark's head knot on our decorative ring here. So I'm going to take that loop, and then you just want to take your ends through your loop and pull. Now, I definitely recommend adding a little bit of hypo cement to this, and you want to add it to the back. So back here, right in there between the suede and the component, you want to put a little bit of glue in there. That's just going to hold your knot closed so that it doesn't come undone. And you can leave it just like that if you want to. You can see how that kind of ties into the back of the necklace where we had those little fringy pieces. And then if you want to, you can add this little beaded bit to this as well. So I'm going to take a head pin. I'm going to thread on 2 pieces of turquoise.
I just feel like this is where all the Sara magic happens. Because like I was loving the bracelet, and then Sarah's like, we're going to add more.
More is more. And then our little spacer, and then we're going to do a wrapped loop here, but we're going to wrap it to our piece of suede. So get started with your loop. Come in again. We're going to make a nice big loop. Twist pliers. Okay, now before we wrap, I'm going to thread that right onto that piece of the suede and give it a little wiggle. Hold on to that, and then we're going to wire wrap. So this just adds an extra little something to it. And again, you don't have to do this part. This is definitely, like Sam said, this is a little Sara extra, because I'm always extra, always adding dangles and things. You can always leave this part out, but I think it's a cool little.
I think it's the Sara design genius of it, because the elements unify the whole jewelry set. Because when folks see the earrings, they'll see like, oh, you have the same thematic pieces going in every single piece.
Yep.
We had a question about adjusting with when you're using a toggle clasp. And the best idea I could offer is that you could just add, depending on who's going to be wearing, you could add on or jump rings to extend the length.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any other ideas?
That's really kind of, when it comes to toggles, that's really kind of your only option. I mean, you can also add smaller elements if you wanted to. You can always pop in an extra spacer or some seed beads from your own stash if you want to. But really the jump rings always kind of solves the problem. The thing about the jump rings though is that 6mm might be too much. So maybe consider a 4mm. Like play around with your jump ring sizes, because it can be such a small amount that makes the difference between, you know, a bracelet that sits here as opposed to one that sits way back here. So it's kind of personal preference, and the changes in the jump rings can make a big difference.
Yeah, I really like these jump rings in the kits. The TierraCast jump rings are particularly strong.
They are so strong.
And they're obviously, you also notice that they're very like uniform, which is really helpful for jump rings.
Oh yeah.
Once you try these, you might fall in love with the TierraCast jump rings.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So like Sam was saying, these are our little earrings. So you can see how it all really ties everything together, right? It's the same little element here in the earrings. So basically we're just going to repeat exactly what we just did, except with the smaller component and another piece of the suede. So take your little piece of suede. You're going to thread a loop, right? You fold it in half, thread the halfway point through your component, and then tuck your 2 ends through that loop. And then you're going to pull to tighten down your knot. Okay. And they look cool just like that, but I do like a good dangle. So we're going to add 2 pieces of turquoise to ours. So there's that. Okay, we're going to do another wrapped loop. Round nose pliers coming in, up and over. Rotate the pliers, take the wire over to the other side, and then before you wrap, I didn't even know that. I didn't know. Is she talking about turquoise?
So yeah, Colleen is reminding us that turquoise is a December birthstone. So like this is like perfect timing.
Absolutely.
You could either gift the kit, because then they could watch this video, or you could make the set for them, or you could make it with them if there's someone who's interested in learning some basic jewelry making.
Yeah.
Like this is stringing. This is mainly stringing, some wire work. Like this could be a good intro for someone if you want to like make it with them too.
Sam, I'm sure you've seen
what are you talking about? What are you giggling at?
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Have you seen that? Tell me.
What were those words? You were giggling the whole sentence.
Have you seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
I have not. I've not even heard of that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, for those of you out there who are the same age as I am and making me feel old, Sam, jump ring on here. We're going to do a second jump ring. The whole time Sam was saying that about the turquoise and the kits and stuff, I was thinking the words from that movie, it's the gift that keeps on giving, Clark. And somebody out there is giggling with me right now, and I know you are. So
I love your giggles. I don't know what we're laughing about, but I do like your giggles.
All right, so the 2 jump rings here are necessary because one jump ring is going to have your ear wire facing the wrong direction. So you need to use a go-between jump ring. That's going to make your ear wire hang the correct direction. So that's why there's 2. I make myself giggle. That's just, I don't even know what to say about myself sometimes. Okay, anyway. So where's Wanda? Wanda would have laughed at that. I know she would have.
I'm sure she is.
She's here. So those are the earrings, and you can see how it matches the little bracelet, the little doodad on the bracelet. So you've got your little hanging down pieces, right? And then of course we've got this gorgeous necklace. And if you wanted to, if you had enough suede left over, you could put a little piece of the suede on this focal here in the center of the necklace too. Because some of you are going to have some extra suede. And if you're looking for a place to use it, you can put it here. So there's our. If you want
extra suede, you can do a single strand. That's like initially when I planned the amount of suede. I was planning on a single strand for the necklace. Sarah realized there was actually going to be so much extra that she then doubled it over for the necklace to give it like a nice, I feel like it give like a nice heartier look to it.
Right. Yep.
Which is really smart.
May not work for everybody, because what ends up happening is, and I do feel like I need to say this before somebody gets a little upset about it. This necklace is meant, it doesn't have to be, but the way that I designed it, it's going to lay at about 18 inches on your neck. So this is a shorter style. This is definitely not like a super long necklace. That's why some of you may need to add a couple of jump rings, you know, to get the necklace the length that you want it to, or the alternative, like Sam said, is to do the single instead of folding your suede over. That's going to give you a longer necklace. So it is a shorter style, but it definitely can be adjusted for those who don't like to have things really short up on their neck. It's definitely not a choker, but it is a little bit shorter.
It's such a great set. I just love how how it all came together.
Yeah, I think it came together beautifully. And I told you this too when I was putting it together. It's definitely different than what I anticipated it. Like, I had a design in mind, and when I went to put it together, this is what happened instead. And I'm really pleased with it. I think it turned out beautifully.
Yeah. Wanda did just tell us that the set has officially sold out on the site. So I did a quick search. There are 10 kits in carts right now, and my site like holds it for folks.
Right.
So those will expire. I think after 24 hours, it expires from carts. So if you join the waitlist now, so that if you use that link that we've been dropping, it's also in the description of this video, you can join the waitlist, and then when it expires from someone's cart, it'll go into your cart, and you'll get an email, and you can snag your kit, because I think a couple will become available. So don't fret yet if you didn't get a kit.
So there's our finished.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really pretty. And you've got that asymmetrical. So you've got your tiger eye on one side, you've got your suede on the other. But like Sam said, when we were putting that together, you don't have to do it that way. You've got enough suede so that you can cut the suede in half, put half of your tiger's eye, and then half of your suede on both sides. So it doesn't have to be an asymmetrical design. Yeah. That part is totally up to you, and you've got enough materials to really kind of play with it and make it your own. So well, there you go.
It's so pretty. And then it's like all features around the painting of the picture, Jasper.
Yes, yes, yes. And then you've got your little earrings here that are just super cute. Mine do need a little dab of glue on them for sure. I definitely wouldn't wear these until you add some of that hypo cement to the back, or maybe even just like some gel super glue just right behind that knot is going to hold those in place. Because like for somebody like me, if my hair is a little bit longer, I don't want that to help make that knot come undone, you know? Yeah. And then our beautiful bracelet.
Wow.
Yeah. Such a fun set. This was a really cool kit.
This is gonna go down on one of my favorites, I think. Like Sarah and I are starting to cook up some more kits, and like this is already one of my top favorites, just because of how the stones translated so well into the design.
Yeah,
it was really cool. I was just thinking about something. Oh, the ear wires. I had only briefly mentioned. We use the TierraCast TierraCast Niobium ear wires, which are some of the most hypoallergenic ear wires you can use. So you should give them a shot, especially for your folks that like have very sensitive ears. I feel like everyone I know has really sensitive ears. And Niobium is supposed to be one of the best for that. It costs a little bit more because it's a very premium element, but it should do the trick.
And it doesn't change the wearability of the ear wire, because some people can be kind of picky about their ear wires, and like some of the coatings and things that are on there, these are super comfortable. So not only is the shape really comfortable, but like the overall, just the metal itself is really comfortable to wear. So I speak from experience. I'm one of those people who's really, really picky, and my ears are very, very sensitive. So these are really comfortable to put in. A lot of times I'll put in an earring and it'll feel comfortable for a while, but then after a while I can start to feel it, and that's like whatever the coating is, I don't know what it is, but you know, it starts to bother me. These I put them in and I don't notice them. So
yeah. Yeah, these are really cool. I just ordered them in like a bunch in like all the finishes for the shop.
Yeah.
Because folks have been asking for some of the more basic findings. So we were doing this kit, and we used a lot of really nice basics in it, like the ear wires, spacers. So like those are coming into the shop. I'm just figuring out how I want to do jump rings, so I haven't ordered those yet.
Yeah.
It's like they have so many great jump ring options, and I'm like, how do I do this?
I vote for ovals.
I know
an oval doesn't work in every design, but they are the strongest jump ring that there is.
they're really good, and I've carried them once before, but now I'm like trying to figure out how to carry them that it actually makes sense because we're selling these like tiny packets of them, and like didn't make any sense. So like my dream was like a box, but that is seeming really hard to do. So I'm just like trying to figure that out.
That would be. I want a box of put that in my stocking. I want a box of jump rings.
Of TierraCast jump rings.
Yeah, that would be an amazing stocking stuffer.
So yeah, there's a lot of that's the piece. It just takes a lot of time to like calculate how many jump rings and how much it's like oh my god. And then I wanted to start thinking about turquoise, and then I go to turquoise. So it's coming. It's just that's one's a little slower on my list. But I can tell you all that we have some lovely TierraCast findings coming to the shop this week and next week. So definitely keep an eye out. You make sure on the Sam's Bead Shop like email and text list. You'll be in the know when that stuff comes out. Other than that, Sarah, what do you have coming up? You taking a break, I hope, this weekend?
Oh gosh, yeah. So yeah, I'm taking a break this weekend. It's nice to be able to like sleep in on a Saturday morning and not feel like I have to get up and rush off to do something. So I'm enjoying that. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might spend the entire day in my pajamas tomorrow. I don't know. There were plans for going to a pumpkin patch, but I don't know. My pajamas are calling my name.
Yeah, I just got a Snuggie. Like an off-brand Snuggie because you have a Snuggie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You'll never leave your couch again.
I actually think it was delivered to the office, so I need to go grab it, and I need to wear it.
Let me show you what you need to go with it. Okay. And it's not wearable, it's sittable. And I stole this out of Q's car. Okay. This is called a purple. Have you ever heard of a purple?
Like the pillow, the mattress company.
Yeah. Well, they make pads for your booty to sit on. And he doesn't know I've been sitting on it for like a week. He doesn't know that I took it out of his car yet. He hasn't, because it was thrown in the back seat. I'm like, why did you throw this? This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. A purple for my rear end and a Snuggie for my arms, and I can stay in this office forever. Like, you need a purple.
I'm gonna look this up. That's great. And
it's really purple. It's really truly purple on the inside. It's this weird.
Oh, I mean, their ads are everywhere. You can't miss them.
It's fabulous. Like they need to be on the inside of shoes, like new shoes with purple soles. That's what. Yeah, that's brilliant.
So I looked up the reviews of the purple bed when I was shopping for a mattress. And people didn't seem to like absolutely love it, but then I've heard about people liking their other stuff.
I don't want a mattress made out of it, but it's perfect for my chair.
There's some of the chairs at the office, like some of the office chairs feel like they've deflated.
That's mine. My chair feels like that.
I know, because I went to sit on some chairs last night. I was cleaning. I was like, oh, this is not. I don't like this.
You need a purple. Hey, if the purple people are watching, you can send me more and I'll talk more about this. This is not a sponsored ad.
Hey, purple people. Amazing. So Sarah and I have some more kits that we're cooking up. I think the next one will come out around the end of the month. We've got a cool fall kit we're working on. And then we've got some fun things in store for November.
Yes.
So lots of good things to come. I think next time we're together, would be for bead box to play with the October bead box, I think.
Yes. And I've heard people are getting theirs today. I've not gotten mine yet. I'm jealous. I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
People got quick this month.
Yeah.
Folks don't know what I'm talking about. That's the October Sam's bead box is arriving, and it's a very fun theme. We're not saying what it is quite yet, but the reveal day is Monday, and then a week after that on a Tuesday, Sarah and I are going to dive into the box.
Yep.
I'm sure have plenty of fun then.
Oh, yes.
Jeannie's saying, does TierraCast tarnish? Sarah, you have the best answer on metal tarnishing.
I do. Put me on the spot.
I watch your streams. When someone asks you, does metal tarnish, what do you say?
Of course it does. I mean, that's just the way metal is. So here's the thing. There are so many different things that go into the tarnishing of metal and the speed that it takes. So there's no such thing as tarnish-free anything. There are tarnish-resistant things that just have a coating on them that makes the life a little bit longer. But all metal will tarnish. There are just other things that go into it. It depends on where you live, the kind of humidity in the area where you live, as well as the chemical makeup of your skin. For me personally, the TierraCast stuff, it takes forever for it to tarnish.
Store it well. I've heard the silver.
Yes.
So store the silver, especially in bags. You can use tarnish strips.
Yes. All of those things work. Like, they really do make a difference. But some people, if I just look at copper, it tarnishes. And it doesn't have to do with the quality. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. It's just the chemical makeup of my skin is just, for whatever reason, I can't handle copper. It literally, by the end of the day, after I've touched it, will have tarnish. Some people, it'll never tarnish on them ever. But the reality is that all metal does tarnish. There are treatments that are put on things that'll prolong the life of it, but it's really just about taking care of it and just being mindful of like what your body reacts to, and always keeping like a polishing cloth on hand, because I do find that the things that do tarnish on me quickly, I can polish them up really quickly and it comes right off. So as long as you're taking care of your pieces, it'll last for a really, really long time. And the TierraCast stuff it lasts a really long time. And I speak from experience, somebody who's very hard on jewelry when it comes to not like my skin. So
yeah, I think that's a very clear answer, because it's like any metal, like the whole, like, it's like what the element does, what those elements do. Certain elements like niobium are used because they are known to basically pretty much not react with anything, almost anything.
Right.
But there's a reason TierraCast doesn't sell almost anything niobium except the ear wires anymore. They used to have a niobium coating, a niobium plating, but it costed way more because niobium is a rare element. So which is why they came with the white bronze, which is also supposed to be pretty good for reactivity. But it's all about upkeep and also education of your customers. Ultimately, hopefully you won't own these pieces forever, and your customers will. Yeah. And if they are storing it well, it'll last them a lot longer.
Right. Just be wary of people out there who tell you that it will not tarnish, because that's just not true. Yeah. And Sam and I will always be upfront with you about that. You know, don't listen if somebody tells you, oh, it will not tarnish. That's just,
because there's wire that's called non-tarnish wire. Like our Beadalon's artistic wire is a coated wire. So it's really cool. I buy that stuff. It's awesome.
Right. But even Beadalon will tell you that eventually it will tarnish, because that's just the nature of metal.
I've had really good luck, because I have some rolls from like 10 years ago that like still are looking okay.
Yeah, I do too. It's pretty amazing.
Which just, I guess, means the coating's on it. If I were to start using it, that's kind of when the coating might start wearing, I suppose. Right.
Yeah.
But I hope that's some info for everyone. I think it's helpful to just be aware of these sorts of things, because it's just part of this. Don't people have a lot of stress around these sorts of things. I think take a breath and like, it's okay, and there are things you can do. And it's okay, and just have fun making your jewelry. Okay.
yeah.
Don't stress too much, because at the end of the day, we're here to for the creativity, and we're doing our best, and we can't control every element in the universe, it turns out.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't know till you wear it, and that's the hard part. Is
Yeah.
like, you don't know until you know. And sometimes it's like, well, darn. But a lot
Mhm.
of times, like I said, if polishing cloth will help. So
Yeah. I mean, I purchased some like fine silver plate stuff for the shop years back. Some of it arrived to me with some tarnish on it.
oh yeah,
And
yeah,
like fine silver plate's supposed to really not be affected as much. And even that still clearly I think they had probably stored in too much moisture or something.
yeah,
Um, because some of them I didn't even sell because I was like, this has too much tarnish just to start
yeah,
on it. And so I didn't even, I'm just like, it was before I even knew about what I could do about polishing it up. They were like saying, don't really polish up the fine silver plating.
yeah,
I haven't heard that about like things like the silver plates from TierraCast. I think they're a bit more durable.
yeah. Oh, for
If we
sure.
can polish those up.
Yeah,
But that's a great question. So I'm so glad someone asked that.
yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. I feel like we just did everything.
We did all the things.
Alrighty. I don't want to sign off. This is me not want to sign off, but
It was fun. Thanks, Sam, for having me, and thank everybody out there. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out with us and letting us be part of your Friday.
yeah, it was and for folks who got to hang with Sarah like a whole bunch today, like what a treat. I wish I was awake early enough today. I woke up very late this morning. All right, we're going to sign off. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you next week, and go grab your kit. I mean, I think at this point join the wait list, but I think you're going to get a kit if you join the wait list right now.
Yeah.
And you can make this fabulous set for yourself. All right, everyone. We'll see you very soon.